Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rise and Lead Women's Leadership Perspectives. I am your host, Cherie Wiley, founder and CEO of Diverse Perspectives, where we are dedicated to empowering growth, transforming lives, and reimagining success one client at a time. I am so excited to be back with you. It is July. Oh my goodness, it is so hard to believe that we are in July, but here we are. And July's focus is all about leadership identity. And I think that this is perfect timing for this particular conversation because we're in the middle of the summer. August, for a lot of people, starts a new year. And so we're starting to really think about what type of leader we want to be. How do we want to show up? Do we want to show up the same way that we did last year, or do we want to show up in a different way? And I think that, which those of you who have been with me for a while know, that reflection is such a powerful tool when we're thinking about growth and development in any area of our lives. And in leadership, it is no different. So there are some key things that I really want us to spend some time just kind of marinating on today as we think about this concept of leadership identity. And I think that we're really developing that over time because all of us are in different places on this journey. Some of us are just getting started in leadership, and you're here because you want some tips to help to make this process better for you. And then there are others of us who've been on this journey for a while. So I've mentioned many times over the last 2 years that where I started and where I am now are in two very different places. And I remember when I first started on my leadership journey, I of course did not see it as leadership. I didn't recognize what was happening or how I was being trained and developed in this particular area. I just knew that, there were certain things that I saw that were deficits, and I wanted to be a part of the solution instead of just continuing to complain about the problems. And so it did lead me into leadership opportunities where I really had to make very clear decisions about how I wanted to show up, who I wanted to be in these moments, and how I wanted to impact change and growth and development, not just for myself, but also for other people. And over time, my leadership identity really developed. It grew, it was nurtured, and I think that that's just the healthy progression. I think a lot of times the mistake that happens is that some people start out on their journey thinking that they have to be like someone else. And the important thing for you to remember is that your leadership journey is your leadership journey. No one else can do what you do. Nobody else is bringing the skills that you bring to the table. Now, yes, you can look at other leaders and there are things that they may do that you may say, I really admire that. I would like to lead in a similar way. But when it all comes down to it, you are you. I've mentioned that I had one of my first principles was I loved her calm demeanor. Her presence was very, very calming for me. And there were lots of things about her leadership style that I really admired. But at the end of the day, my personality is not like hers. It's not exactly the same. Now I try to bring calm into a space, but I'm very, very passionate and energetic, and that's gonna come out. And that is my leadership style. Like I'm not the leader that's just gonna, be very quiet and just kind of, walk you through things that way. I love her personality for her doing that and what that did for me over those years. But when I look at my own leadership style, it doesn't look like that. There are things that I gleaned from her about being very patient with people when you're dealing with them, and the way that you keep focus on the human side of leadership, of the human side of a team, and not just see people as numbers or we need to get this done. I got all that. But as far as like just that calm, quiet, there's a lot of energy that happens on the inside of me. And when I'm talking about things that I'm very passionate about, and I'm trying to help people move from one place to the next. And even when I see that light bulb go off and those shifts happen, there's an energy that comes out of me because that's just who I am. And so understanding that your leadership style and your leadership identity is going to be very much your own, but there are things that you can use to help to make sure that you stay focused on this journey. So one of those things is really defining your leadership identity up front. It goes beyond titles or roles. We are thinking about your personal values. We're thinking about your purpose, and we're thinking about your influence. Okay. Your personal values are what matters to you. Is going to be different than even your other leader friend, because they have their own personal reasons. And a lot of times in education and in, those types of what environments, we always say we're pointing back to our why. So why am I doing this? What motivates me each and every day? What motivates me to be a better leader? What motivates me to lead in a certain way? And so, I have mentioned many times that my core values, integrity, authenticity, and passion. So things that I'm passionate about, I'm making a difference. Those are things that drive me to be the type of leader that I am. And I lead that way in every situation. Now, as we're all human, so there are times that I may miss the mark, but because those things are important to me, even if I miss the mark, I'm going to bring it back around and I'm going to address that issue, to apologize, to say, I dropped the ball, or I'm working on this, or I please forgive me for miscommunication, or whatever the case may be. But that drives me, and it sets me apart as a leader, as it does in other leaders who do this and lead this way, because there are a lot of people whose pride will not allow them to even say, I apologize, I made a mistake. I apologize that I didn't take care of this when I needed to, or when you needed me to. Let's go back and revisit this. I was wrong. Those are powerful things that a leader can say that makes people who follow you really understand that, for one, you acknowledge that you are not perfect. Because it does not help anybody for you to walk around with this concept of perfection that then isolates you from other people. Because if you're perfect, I can never reach that mark because I'm never going to be perfect. And so as a leader, it's very, very important for me to always keep in front of me what I am and am not able to do, how if I do drop the ball, if there are things that don't get done, that I acknowledge that so we can move forward. That I acknowledge I had 30 different things that needed to be done, and I apologize that yours got pushed to the back burner, but right now I'm going to make sure that we take care of this. There's more, it's more power in your ability to be honest and to be real with people than it is for you to put on a front. And now is the time on your journey, wherever you are, whether, again, this is day one, August 1st, you walk into a brand new leadership role, or you could have just started July 1st, a new leadership role. Even if this is the beginning of your journey, or you've been on this journey for the last 50 years, you always can take a pause and say, this is the identity that I've been operating in up until now. I want to shift. I'm ready for an identity shift. Or maybe I just didn't acknowledge the impact that me trying to put on this front has had on the people that I'm interacting with each and every day. You can make a decision that I want to change how I lead. Because I'm not leading according to my own personal values. I'm leading because I watched other people put on a front or act a certain way for years. And I thought that that's what I had to do and be in order to be an effective leader. But now I'm realizing that doesn't work. Because there are things about that person that I might have watched, and they might have led for a period of time, but people feel a certain way about them. People have issues with them. You've got this thing's going on and that thing's going on, and I realize I don't want to be that person, and that's okay. It's never ever too late for you to turn around. Never. That's why I will always be a forever learner, because every time I gain new information, I have the opportunity to adjust the way that things have been going up until this point. That is a sign of maturity, because I don't know everything. There's probably a better way to do this, and I'm going to go about this differently. And when you make that decision in that moment, then you're showing your growth, and people want to follow people who are mature. People don't want to follow immature leaders. And so even if you're just getting started, you're going to have to find a place of maturity on this journey in order to continue to move forward. Because if you are a leader, obviously someone saw something in you that they said, okay, you got this. And so now you're going to have to step up to the task that has been given to you. And one thing, and I'm just going to say this right now, thinking about new leaders, is that a lot of times new leaders are put into leadership positions because they have leadership qualities, but they are not provided the support to be good leaders. And I know this from personal experience. I know this from working with leaders over the years, that this is a fact. That leaders are often put into positions of leadership without being properly prepared for those positions. And what happens is they struggle because they try to live up to someone else's expectations or someone else's model that may have been good, bad, or indifferent. And they end up in a place where they are very much in identity crisis. Leadership identity crisis is a thing. And they start to struggle in those positions. They need to be trained and equipped with the proper tools to be able to do what they need to do. Which is why a company like Diverse Perspectives exists, because I understand that new leaders need to be equipped with the tools to be successful leaders. And if you are over a company where you have new leaders that are going into this position, I would admonish you to find some support to help to train and develop those leaders into better leaders, into leaders that can handle what they're doing. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with more fires than you have anticipated. Because throwing someone into a position of leadership just because it exists and they're not actually ready is going to cause problems for the company. So we're all in different places, but we all need support, because some of us, have been just learning on the fly, but some of the things that we're learning are not the right things. As I mentioned, along with you understanding your own personal values, you also need to understand your purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your impact? Because again, you were created for something so much more than just working in your little cubicle, or I got this title, so now I can tell people what to do. You are in that position in order to make a difference and to have a profound impact on the people that you have been entrusted with. The responsibility is great. And so because it is great, it is really, really important for you to keep that in perspective at all times, especially because leadership can be very, very challenging. You're dealing with other people's issues, their problems. Sometimes you have to be a counselor. Sometimes you have to, be a parent. Sometimes it's all sorts of roles that you play in leadership. Sometimes you need, somebody needs you to lend an ear and listen, or whatever the case may be. And you are really responsible for keeping boundaries, but also understanding that there are certain things that people may need from you in those moments. And you've got to learn balance. As part of your identity, there has to be balance. You can't be, even if your best friend happens to be working with you and for you, there has to be some lines drawn. Even if it's like, okay, when we're at the office, I'm boss, I'm CEO, I'm whatever the case may be. And after hours, we are friends, but there are certain boundaries that we're not going to cross. We're not going to sit around and talk about other people's business within the company. That's unprofessional. We're not going to talk about, whatever issues. We're not going to talk numbers and all this other stuff. We are going to compartmentalize our relationship. Outside of these hours and these walls, You my girl. Within these hours and within these walls, you're my employee, and we're going to handle this thing professionally. And that's across the board with anybody, whether you have your children working for you, or it could be your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your grandma. It doesn't matter. Cousin, everybody needs to understand that we have a job to do. We're operating according to purpose. If purpose is how you serve your clients, then okay. If purpose is how you interact with your employees, okay. Whatever that purpose is, we stand focused on the purpose. We're not going to cross any lines. We're not going to get things blurred. You're not going to get special treatment because you're my cousin and you ain't call in, but you ain't show up. Girl, I was tired. It doesn't matter. We have a company handbook. We're going to honor the same rules. We operate according to whatever rules and regulations are of this overall company. I might have got you on here, got you hired. You might be working for me, but you gonna do what they say, because otherwise we're gonna have to deal with things the same way that I would anybody else. Because what happens when people start to think, again, we talk about integrity, that this person or that person gets special opportunities and treatment because of their connection. Well, that's everybody else is doing what they're supposed to do. And so keeping things in perspective is really important. So when you're thinking about your leadership identity, we have to be really laser focused on what is the purpose? Why am I here? What was I created to do? Why did God put me in this place at this particular time? And am I operating and walking out this thing the way that I should be? And if the answer is no, then we need to make adjustments. People are not always going to like the way that you go about things. But if you know that you are going about things in a place of integrity and doing what you were called to do and doing it in a way that was respectful, people will eventually adjust. Especially if you also have consistency on your shoulders. Because you can't argue with this is the way that things are done and this is why. I am focused on the goal, not on all this extra stuff. Yes, we can have a conversation about how you're feeling in this moment. We can have a conversation about how I can help you with this or that. We can have all those conversations. But when it comes down to when the rubber meets the road, I am operating according to purpose. And purpose requires that there be instructions and directions that this is how we're going to get to this particular goal. There has to be some sort of plan or map on how that happens. And some of the extra stuff can often get in the way when we're really thinking about what our identity is. And this is why people start to really, again, be an identity crisis, because they don't know who they are as a leader, because it changes moment by moment. The consistency is necessary. And then we also have to consider, what is our influence when we're thinking about our identity? Who is watching us? Who are we impacting? Why is it so important? We should be an example for the people that are following us. That should be a key part of your leadership identity. What are people seeing? You cannot be highly emotional and just falling apart about every single little thing and cussing people out or doing whatever you do in a leadership role. You get frustrated about something, you just and think that people are gonna respect you and want to follow you or be like you or even understand what in the world you got going on. You are unstable. Why do I want to follow that? And I have seen leaders who cannot keep their emotions in check, who think that it is appropriate in meetings to cuss and to say all these crazy out the side of their neck things. Like I'm supposed, like those of us who are there are supposed to think that's cute. I'm not laughing at this because, for one, I don't cuss. So you're not impressing me by you having your moments of coming into a meeting because something frustrating has happened and being like, what the F or whatever. I don't find that funny. That's not amusing. I don't want to chuckle about it. I'm trying to understand what the heck is wrong with you. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. That is not something that people want to emulate. Even if your employees cuss like a sailor, you should be setting a different type of example, especially if that's not an environment that you're establishing. Anybody who knows, I'm a Christian leader. I don't cuss. I don't want to hear it in my building. That is one thing that what you say outside these walls is your business. Me and my clients should not be hearing you cursing like a sailor because it's unprofessional. We're never going to sit down and have a meeting where I bring all of my staff together and I'm frustrated for the day and I start off the meeting cussing. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Because when I get frustrated, a curse word don't even is not even considered. Because the last time I said a curse word, I was in my 20s. And y'all know I'm loud and proud about being 40. Okay. It's been a minute. So it doesn't even threaten to come out. I stub my toe. I don't think to say a curse word. Yeah, it hurts. I'd definitely be quick to call on the name of Jesus for sure. But I'm not going to curse because that's not an example that I'm setting, because that's not who I am. My leadership identity is tied to something much higher than whatever my emotional state is at the moment. When I'm mad, that's not where I'm going. And my anger does not last for a long period of time because that still small voice calms me very quickly, often putting things in perspective and reminding me of who I am in the Lord. And even in a workspace where I may not be able to, have Bible study and, play worship music all day or whatever, but I'm in my own space quite often. So yeah, I can do all that. But even if I was in a confined space where I wasn't, when I worked in a job where I had my own office, yeah, I had worship music playing with my door closed any time of the day. Instrumental worship music, because that kept me very much calm, even in the midst of times where it was there, things could be very frustrating at times. It was times when I had to shut my door so I could just pray. Dear Heavenly Father, help me. Help me to continue to be the leader that you called me to be. Don't let me go to someone else's level because they want to operate in a certain level of ignorance. Because they may say out of their mouths that they're Christian, but their actions are far from it. And that's not for me to judge. That's for me to know that when it's certain things that I may even think about doing, which again, I'm in a place where certain things don't even cross my mind because it's been so long since I've done it. Like, it's not even a challenge for me anymore. But that there's a check that happens on the inside of me that keeps me from stepping over into a place that is not who God created me to be. And part of my leadership identity is that I am a Christian leader. It definitely determines and keeps me in line in certain areas. Even when I need to address a thing, which I have talked about this many times, it's done in a way that I don't walk away from it feeling ashamed or somehow like I violated myself in that interaction, because that's not what I want. That's not what I want to happen. That's not what I need to happen. I need to be sure that when I leave from any interaction on any given day, that I am still very much aware that I handled it as a child of God, that there's nothing that could be said. And if the person does say something, they're lying about how I came at you or whatever the case may be, because my devotion, my check and balance is to God. Part of my identity, I don't ever want him to be displeased with my behavior. So I make sure that I carry myself in a way that my Heavenly Father is still like, that's my girl. She doing what she got to do. Doesn't mean I don't get upset. Doesn't mean that I don't have emotions that come up at times. But there is a check that happens on the inside of me that keeps me from handling things in a way that's unpleasing to God. That's part of my leadership identity. There's no way that anybody could force me or try to get me to remove that portion of myself. Does that mean that I walk into a business meeting and be like, "Hey y'all, I'm a Christian"? No. That means that my life and my light is shining everywhere I go. So even though I don't have to ever say it, somebody can see, oh, it's something different about her. And it's not a front. I don't have to put on my Christian face for the next 30 minutes to an hour so that I can look a certain way. I'm not fronting for nobody. This is who I am. If you know me, you know I'm going to keep it real. If I don't understand something, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to handle you with love. I've had people look me in my face and tell me I don't like you, or, I was hating on you because of this or that. And it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to like me. Nobody has to. Only person who I most certainly need to like me is the Lord. But anybody else, that's a choice. And I promise you, please understand this, because I need people to understand part of my identity, leadership identity, life identity, this is Cherie identity, is that I don't lose any sleep over anybody telling me that they dislike me, hate me, don't want to see me succeed, jealous of me, or any of that. I don't. I will pray for you, because that is a personal issue that you have. And I want you to be at peace, because you're spending more time worried about me than I am worried about you. I still love you. I'm going to sleep tonight and every night, believing that God is going to deliver you. And what a lot of people don't understand, and I was literally just having this conversation with one of my sisters tonight, is that a lot of times when you really dislike a person and you don't know why, it's something that God trying to work out in you. It's not them. Because a lot of times that person don't even know how you feel about them. And even if you tell them, they're fine. I promise you. But he's trying to get something worked out in you. And so what a lot of times will happen is he'll keep putting that person in front of you because he wants you to overcome this hurdle. And the minute you genuinely are like, I don't have a problem with them, I don't even know what was wrong with me, then your growth will start to happen. I can honestly say there is no one, even people who have done me wrong, that I hold any type of hatred or dislike in my heart against. And the reason for this is because I'm not going to let nobody keep me from going to see my Heavenly Father. And the Word of God talks about having hate and unforgiveness in your heart. You ain't going where you want to go, baby. You're not. I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to flourish and be prosperous. I'm not in competition with nobody. Even if you're doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing, there is no competition, because guess what? If God opened the door for either one of us to get in a position, it's enough room for all of us. God has people specifically assigned to you, and he got people specifically assigned to me. He has certain assignments that are specific for you, and he has assignments that are specific for me. It may be very similar, but it doesn't change the fact that he is big enough that he can send you exactly what it is that you need. And maybe if you get there first and I applaud you, or vice versa, if I get there first and you applaud me, it shows God that we're ready for that elevation. Because he pays attention to how we act when it's happening for other people and it's not happening for us. And as a leader, there may be times when you will be checked even on that. And you have to be very secure in your understanding that if it's a person that I trained and developed and poured into, and then they receive a promotion over me, that is not a reason for me to dislike that person or hate on that person. Clearly, I was a pivotal role or played a pivotal role in helping them get to their next step. That doesn't mean that God has forgotten about me. It just means that this is their time to move forward and to be elevated. I need to be celebrating them. I need to be happy for them. I need to feel accomplished that I clearly trained them well enough and prepared them well enough that they were able to continue to excel and to grow. There should be no competition. And again, if that is how you lead, is this place of cattiness and I want to pull you down and just to block you. I've seen leaders who've even gone so far to they have certain talents that are on their teams that they will try to prevent people from moving forward and from elevating. It to me it's just sickening because it's like, what? This person has this type of gift and I'm going to block it because I feel like I should get there before them. That may be why you're not there yet, because your attitude is not right. And so really being very clear on what those each one of those things are and always being reflective about that, about what are my personal values, what is my purpose, and what is my influence will help to get you to the next level. Also understanding what the intersection between authenticity and authority. Are you showing up as yourself, or am I operating in a certain way because now I have this title and I'm going to just, I'm going to be the butt because I can. Who going to check me, right? and people, we know people get the big head when it comes down to these things, but making sure that you're staying true to yourself. Thank God you got this new position. Thank God now that you're in this place of influence and you can do, but that means greater responsibility. It also means greater impact. Your influence is greater. It's grown, but still show up as you. Understanding that you have a platform and people are listening to you should be even more motivation for you to be authentically you. There are 1,000 other people who are being like other people. But how many people are really committed to showing up as themselves and making an impact that no one else can erase? An impact that is changing people's lives and walking in that with confidence. You belong here. You belong in this position. You were given the position for such a time as this. And you need to walk it out with confidence that you are doing exactly what you were called to do. Also, authenticity really, really builds trust with people. People can really sense if you putting on a front. And the reality of it is that a front can only last for so long and is exhausting. When you are committed to wearing a mask every time you step inside of a place with other people, it becomes very, very tiring. And I've been on both sides of this. So I'm not speaking of something I think. This is something I know. I have been in positions, especially when I was younger and earlier on my leadership journey, where I felt like I had to posture myself a certain way, to show up a certain way, to talk a certain way, to look a certain way. And it was exhausting. Like, this is not me. And eventually I had to get to a place where I was comfortable enough with myself that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is who I am. I'm going to be me. And people who love it will love it. And people who don't, that's between them and God. Ain't got nothing to do with me, because God created me to be me. And as long as I'm not doing anything that displeases him, mistreating his people, again, being the butt just because I can, as long as I'm not doing any of those things, operating in love all the time and being very, very honest and straightforward, but in a way that is still loving, which is a very delicate balance, then I'm going to continue to show up as myself. And I'm okay with that because I have to live with me. And those years that I was trying to put on the front and be something that I wasn't, I was exhausted. And a lot of time I was getting sick all the time. I mean, I've even had moments where, or seasons where, once I was hospitalized for a week because of the stress of trying to wear this mask, to put this front on, to walk around in a certain way that wasn't real. It wasn't worth it. I had to make a decision. I'm going to choose myself and my health, or I'm going to choose to keep putting on the front for other people, and they're not going to be worried about me when it's all said and done. And this happens for a lot of people. I was just reading I read a lot of the articles and things, not a lot of them, but some of the articles that come out on LinkedIn. And there was a lady who was talking about the fact that she had worked in a educational space for years, never taken a day off, never, was always showed up, did whatever she needed to be done for her students, for her colleagues, her community. And then, but she wasn't taking care of herself, and she got sick. And when she got sick, none of those people that she made sure she sacrificed for were there for her. It was her family that was there for her. And even down to the same job that she had never taken the days off, they made her use all of her sick leave and all of the time she had in order to cover the time that she needed to be in the hospital. She was in the hospital for an extended period of time, but it put things in perspective for her about what was important. And I say that to say that there's a level of stress that comes with wearing a mask all the time, with acting as though you are so together, that you have it together in all these certain ways, and that you have to show up a certain way and operate a certain way, that puts a level of stress on you that will literally kill you if you let it. And so now is the time, especially for those of you who are early on your journey, to really, really solidify what is important to you. Yes, work has requirements. There are times when you may have to stay late, you may have to come in early. But the most important thing for your entire life is that you have a work-life balance. Your family needs you, wants to see you, wants to spend time with you. They're important. You show people that they're important by the amount of time that you invest in them. And so if you're more invested in your job and being there 24/7, then you are sending a very clear message to your family. PTO, sick leave, annual leave, whatever type of leave we talk about at the moment, is there for you to take it. Jobs try to make you feel guilty about taking your time off. But guess what? It is there for you to take it. You should use the time that you have. Because as this lady pointed out, when it comes down to it and the rubber meets the road, if you can't come to work, if you actually get sick, if you whatever you need, a family member, whatever, life is going to keep on rolling with it without you. If you must be hospitalized and cannot do your job, guess what? They are going to roll up your days and they're going to use them. You have to decide right now on your journey what is most important to you. Your time to rest and reset as a leader is extremely important. In some ways, it's more important than people who are not in positions of leadership, because you have a different level of stress than others do. Now, there are people who will argue and say that's not true. Yes, it is, because average worker who's coming to work every day does not have to deal with the same type of stress that you have to deal with as a leader. And you may not realize this, especially if you just came onto this leadership path. But your plate is a lot heavier than it was when you were just in the classroom or in your little cubicle or wherever you were before you were moved to this position of leadership. And I could say from personal experience, it can be a shocker because I thought that I was doing something when I was, doing professional development and I'm helping this and I'm on this committee and this is all great. And it turned into a totally different type of vibe when I was put into the position and got this office. And now this is what you're doing and this is XYZ and you got to do this and you got to do that and you're responsible for this and this person's not doing their job. So now you need to go talk to them. You need to put them on a plan and it was just a total difference in the way that things happened and the flow. And it took some time for adjustment. But what I had to learn very quickly is that, yes, I can do all these things, because God wouldn't allow me to be in the position if I wasn't capable of fulfilling the position. I can do all that. Yeah, absolutely. But here's the but. I need to still have some sort of balance so that I'm not overwhelmed. Because if I'm overwhelmed, then I'm no good to the people who are dependent on me to make sound decisions with a clear head. There are times when I'm going to have to set aside time for quiet. I'm going to set aside time to work on certain things. I'm going to set aside a certain time to go into meetings and to come out of meetings and what happens after the meeting, whatever the recap is. I'm going to set times for all of that stuff. I'm gonna have to put things in balance. And I still want to get home in time to eat dinner with my family. I still want to get to be able to serve and be active in my church. I still want to be able to do these things. And I'm going to have to be strategic and understand, put things in perspective of what's important to me. And one thing that's important to me is that I'm going to show up as my authentic self. And we are going to interact in a way that helps you to understand not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. So when I tell you that we can't do a certain thing, you don't think it's because I don't like you and I don't know what her problem is and blah, blah. This is the reason why, and these are the steps. I'm being real with you. You're asking me for something that I'm not sure that I can provide for you. But what I do promise you is that I'll look into it. And I will come back to you and let you know either, yes, this is going to happen, or no, this won't happen. And this is the reason why. But that's authentically me. That's not me putting on the front. That's not me saying, oh, well, I'll get back to you, but then I never check on it. That's not me saying, oh, well, it was such and such fault that we couldn't do whatever it was. I didn't have anything to do with it, when that's not the case. Me not being upfront with you, me avoiding you, none of that is me operating in authenticity. That's me using my authority in order to manipulate you into believing that I'm taking care of things that I'm not actually taking care of. To you believing that things are priority for me that are not actually priority for me. That is not leading with authenticity. That is leading with dishonesty. And it creates a distrust that when you say things, people are like, okay, whatever. That is not who I want to be in any area of my life. And when you are thinking about this leadership journey, this leadership identity, really making it clear in your head what matters to you and how you want to show up. And we don't show up a certain way because we want people to like us. We show up a certain way because that's the right way. That's the right thing to do. Being honest with people is the right thing to do. It has nothing to do with whether or not they like you. But sometimes people will dislike you because you're honest. But it's still the right thing to do, whether they can appreciate it or not. Also, really understanding the interplay between cultural, spiritual, and personal influences on your leadership style. What you see out there, outside, within your culture, whether it's your work culture or wherever you are planted, does have an influence on your leadership identity, whether you realize it or not. And again, being very, very clear with the other pieces will help you to understand how to filter in what you want to apply to your own leadership style and what you want to reject. Because some cultures are very toxic. And again, we're when you own a company, you really can decide what the culture is within your space, your sphere of influence. When you work for a company, that is completely outside of your control, right? You are walking into a certain culture, whether it be good or bad, and you are having to navigate that space. And so if you're in the situation where you are working for a company, or it could be your company, and you have allowed a toxic culture to take root and now you need to undo it, you need to be very, very careful about what you are accepting as part of your leadership style and what you are rejecting. If you are saying that you are working in the midst of a very toxic leadership environment, that requires you to reject probably 75 to 90% of what you're seeing. Because if that's not the type of leader you want to be, because a lot, in my opinion, work culture always starts with leadership. It starts from the top. Leadership creates the culture in a company, in a business, wherever you are. And that's the reason why I love to work with leaders, because if we're really talking about structural change and influence, it is starting from the top. This is the top down. Employees don't make an environment toxic. Leadership creates toxic environments, or allows it to continue to be toxic. Now, employees can fuel it, right? But employees are eventually going to listen to what is happening from the top down. So if leadership is not addressing those issues and removing them to the point where people really understand this is not what we do here, then they will continue to be perpetuated, and this is where you're fighting this battle. And so you are going to be rejecting a lot of the things that you're seeing within that particular culture. From a spiritual perspective, that is what you are going to have to carry with you into those spaces, even if the space is negative, because the light will always expel the darkness. So you will have an impact from what you're doing on the spiritual side to set an atmosphere in a place. Whether before you go into a space, you're praying, or you drive to work listening to worship music, whatever the case, that gets you to a place where you are showing up as a leader that you want to be. If you're not in a space where you can play worship music out loud, honey, get you an AirPod, even if it's just one, because I am good for going into, in a place where I'm by myself, not where it's not in a meeting or something like that. But if I'm in another space and I'm around people, I've been in conferences the whole nine, my little AirPod is in and I'm playing music in my ear until it is time for me to interact with other people. Because I need to make sure that I'm straight so that I can show up as the person I want to be in. Plenty of times I've been in environments, included in a conference space, where people have attitudes have happened, things have shifted, and I have to keep myself in line, intact. It happens. I want to make sure that I'm showing up in a certain way. That I'm even if I misstep in some way, that I'm woman enough to apologize and keep it moving, because that's never my intention to treat anybody any type of way in any space. But I got to have my head on straight each and every moment. And then also understand that, again, my personal values are impacting the way that I lead and the way that I show up. It's that important. Another thing that I want to make sure that I address before we wrap up this particular episode is this concept of imposter syndrome. I mentioned it a little bit ago, and I'll say it again. You deserve to be in these spaces. There's something about you that caused you to stand out and for you to now be in a position of leadership. Do not allow that small voice that makes you feel that you shouldn't be there, or other people who have been doing this forever and now want to make you feel like you just coming in here and you don't know what you're doing. Don't allow that to keep you from shining and letting your light shine in a big way in this new opportunity, because you're there for a reason. You are going to have to develop that inner confidence that says, I deserve to be here. I'm all that plus a bag of chips. And if you don't see that yet, that's okay. But one day you will. And if you never see it, there was a reason why I was here for this period of time. And now it's time for me to keep it moving. I have been in spaces where I know that I was definitely meant to be there, and I know I made an impact. And there were people who tried to make me feel before I left that I didn't. Even so much to the point that I had a situation a little while ago where I was so I it had me, and I say me with all this confidence that I have now. I had a moment of insecurity to the point that an individual who was my leader made me feel like because I was blocked in so many different areas to keep me from doing what needed to be done underhandedly and sideways, and people, I mean, it was a lot going on, tried to make me feel like I hadn't done anything and hadn't accomplished anything in the position that I was in. And I know I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I accomplished much less than I wanted to and would have if I had been allowed to do what I was brought there to do. But there was blocks on every way. But I started to wonder, like, did I do something wrong? I went to a conference, and the instructors there, afterwards I was listening to them, and things were just really resonating with me, and I had been struggling with this feeling for like maybe at that point had been like a month of me just like really questioning, like, did I do something wrong? Was it me? Was I da da da? And I went into this space, and then everything they were saying, I was like, no, I did that. I did that. Like it was just like rising up in my very being. No, no, no. Like I wanted to just, and I went up to one of the ladies afterwards, and I thanked her for the things that she said, and I got emotional. And she hugged me, and she was like, "You didn't do anything wrong. Don't let this person make you feel like you did anything wrong when they wouldn't even allow you to do what you came to do." And so I knew in that moment, more than ever before, that it was time for me to go and do something different. And all I needed was for God to release me, and He did. And it was that I was still in that position. I was still all that plus a bag of chips. But that in that moment, that individual who had been a pivotal part in preventing me or stalling me from making the impact that I wanted to make, because they were in a position, they were over me. I couldn't do anything that was not, I was not being allowed to do. And then there was another individual who was backhandedly stopping things from happening, but then was making it seem like I just wasn't doing them. And so it was a combination of things that had caused this and had started to really cause me to have imposter syndrome. And I had to bust free from that. And once I was free from that, I had to understand no, because now I'm in a position where I'm free to do what I do, and I'm doing my thing because I know the gifts that God has put on the inside of me. I know what I'm capable of. I'm capable of more than what some people will even allow me to be capable of, but that's okay because God is creating new ways for me to do what He called me to do, including having diverse perspectives. It allows me a freedom that I've never had before to be able to be the type of coach and encourager and motivator that God created me to be. But I had to get past all the noise. And that's the same thing I will encourage you to do. Don't let people and their opinions cause you to doubt yourself and make yourself believe that you don't deserve to be in the spaces that you're in. You might need more support. You might need more tools to continue to grow and develop. But that is a natural part of life that's in any role that we're in. And don't feel any kind of way if you need to go and get some additional help to get on this journey. You watching this podcast episode is step one. But I'm here to encourage you. If no one else does, you deserve to be here. You are amazing, and what you're capable of is even greater than what you have yet realized. If your leadership journey, no matter where you are on this journey, starting to really solidify who you are as a leader and what you were called to accomplish will continue to help to move you forward. But this is just the beginning of this work. of this understanding, of this knowledge of you. And I promise you that once you really understand who you are in this role, in this position, where with when it comes to leadership and your identity and building this ship, it becomes extremely freeing, because there's no confusion, there's no blurred lines. I know exactly how I'm stepping into a space, whether I just got here or I've been here forever. And it becomes very clear to people very quickly that I know who I am. There's a calm confidence that I walk in each and every day. And that's the same thing that I want for you, because peace is what we should be operating in. God's peace is not a place of confusion. It's not a place of uncertainty. You know that you know that you know, and having an inner confidence will completely change the way that you approach every situation. And the last thing that I want to make sure that I mention is this concept of leading from a place of wholeness. If you are in a place where you are broken, where you are unsure of yourself, where you are leading in through your insecurities, this is a time when I would really, really encourage you to start working on that, because your leadership identity starts from the inside out. And if you're leading from a place of brokenness, it's going to spill out on the people that you lead. You must find wholeness. My wholeness comes from my reliance and my relationship with the Lord. It keeps me centered, it keeps me grounded, it keeps me focused, it keeps me on the right path, it keeps me in a place of understanding of not just myself, but also the people that I am leading. There's a different level of compassion that comes from my relationship with God, a different level of understanding, different way of me just looking at situations and not taking them personal. And so I would really, really encourage you to work on yourself as you're thinking about what you want this leadership journey to look like for you. As you're considering your leadership identity, what is some inner work that you need to do now that will really set you up for success when you are overseeing other people, that will really determine how you're leading and if you're leading effectively? This is the time to really consider what that looks like. If you're interested in help on this journey, Diverse Perspectives is here. I would gladly work with you personally to continue on a path to becoming the type of leader that you want to be. If you've been leading for a while and you need an adjustment, I'm also here for that too. But I would say it starts with that relationship, not with me, but with God. As a Christian leader, that is always what I'm going to say about what sets me apart from others, is that I know Him. He leads me, He guides me, He corrects me, He helps me to make the necessary adjustments. I can't do anything without Him, because I know what type of person I was before, when I didn't have that peace, when I was filled with anxiety and I felt like I had to do it all and fix it all, and was wearing around a mask and was feeling physically sick and actually getting physically sick because of the level of stress that I had. And I know what my life is like now. I go to sleep at night and I don't worry about a thing, and I wake up and I don't worry about a thing. And it doesn't mean that there's nothing that I could worry about. It just means that I know that all of my cares, my clients, my employees, those people that I work with on teams and support, I can't fix any of it. It's all in the hands of the Lord, a much higher power than mine. It doesn't do any good. Bible says the worm will not add a single hour to your life. So why worry? There are times when I'm faced with challenges, things are not the way I want them to be. Life is not perfect because we live in a real world. But God keeps things in perspective for me. I operate according to the word of God and according to the directions that have been laid before me. And so if you don't know him, I encourage you to just start, even if it's just one scripture, even if you just reach out, if you know somebody who does know him personally and can help you find your way there. If you want to reach out to me, because I will never, ever, ever deny the opportunity to help someone change their lives, because I know mine's been changed. I look different. I feel different. I live differently because he lives on the inside of me. As always, I thank you for your time and for your attention. If you would like support, again, Diverse Perspectives is here. You can work with me directly. DPDEI.com is one way to get in contact. You could also email me, Cherie.Wiley. The Cherie in the email does not have the accent mark on it, but it's at DPDEI.com. You can, call the business line, which is 804-778-0838. And we would be happy to work with you in any capacity. But please believe me when I say that I'm so excited for your journey. You absolutely deserve to be here. I believe that you will continue to grow and develop like never before, because there's so much inside of you that you have yet to even tap into. But as you continue along the way, it will come forth. You will see yourself grow and develop as long as you continue to work on you. You've never arrived. There's always more. And I am so, 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 so grateful that you took out the time to include me and these words of encouragement in your journey and on this path. Thank you, as always, for joining us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who may need this exact encouragement. Whether you listen to it and you know of a new leader, or you yourself or someone close to you, they need to hear these words, please spread the word, because this podcast is not just for me. This is not just an opportunity for Cherie to get on here and talk. To be honest with you, there are days when I am tired, but it is too important to let it fall by the wayside, because someone needs this information. Someone is dependent on me to keep doing what I'm doing. And so until the Lord tells me otherwise, I will not let up. I hope that you have a blessed evening, and I will see you next time.